Continue on what's trending. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, alongside delegates of 54 African countries, is set to declare war on the global drug trafficking scourge at the forthcoming 31st meeting of heads of national drug law enforcement agencies in Africa. Tinubu is expected to deliver the keynote address at the meeting, which is set to begin on Tuesday, September 26th. Top on the agenda will be discussions and collaborations on alternative development to cannabis cultivation, trends and partnerships over assets for future, cryptocurrency and money laundering involving drug cartels, among others. The Secretary to the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency made the announcement on Tuesday, stating that the meeting, which is a subsidiary body of the United Nations Commissions on Narcotic Drugs, is to enable heads of drug law enforcement agencies in Africa to discuss and develop strategies to combat drug trafficking and abuse in the region. I think this is such an important meeting, Dr. Abati, and you know the menace of drug among especially our youth in Nigeria. I mean, it's now come back to limelight, owing to the fact that, MOHBAD died, and there's a lot of stories about, the NDLEA, whether they arrested MOHBAD at one point, and, the Malian records. The news is also coming as the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency last week debunked rumors that the agency poisoned late singer MOHBAD after a video surfaced online in which the late singer could be heard saying that he was poisoned by the NDLEA. The spokesperson of the Anti-Narcotics Agency in a post on X also clarified that MOHBAD was not among the Malian music acts arrested by the agency in 2022, as speculated on social media. Dr. Abati.
One, I think the clarification by the NDLEA is very important because that story was out there.
Yes.
There were also some family members who were alleging that there was poison involved and all of that. So that clarification by NDLEA is important. However, the second other story is the HONLAF. It's called HONLAF.
Yes.
The 31st annual meeting of the HONLAF taking place in Abuja. And the collaboration, the idea of collaboration, cooperation, partnership among African countries is very important because drug trafficking, of course, is transnational. It's, transborder, kind of crime. And to see that Nigeria has been focusing heavily on, substance abuse is very important.
Yes.
But I think a lot more still needs to be done in terms of public education, youth education. So many Nigerian youths, it's not just because they are musicians or they are artists, who are on drugs. They call it, sometimes they have codes for it. They call it a biscuit. When you hear biscuit, you think it's the normal biscuit. It's not biscuit. Or they call it eja, meaning fish. When you hear eja, it's a code for, and you have this increasing population of young people, particularly at the secondary school level, who are either taking marijuana or they are taking some other harmful substances. And then, of course, the effort of government is not just the focus. I think parents, community, churches, places of religious worship also have to be involved in this campaign. I mean, look at our country, so religious, okay? At every corner you see a place of religious worship, but at the same time, you'll find that, we have this issue of drug trafficking. Nigeria used to be a transit point, but now it's a major consumption center, and that's why, it's so much concern and it's spreading. But I think the NDLEA so far is doing a good job. They just need to be given more support, to deepen the effort.
All right. Okay.
I mean, I'd like to do commendations to the NDLEA under the leadership of Buba Marwa. He's done a lot of very good work as regards fishing these people out. I mean, it's under NDLEA. We saw the relations of somebody like Abba Kyari, the police guy, to a drug syndicates, which is quite very sad. But yeah, we've talked about advocacy, against drug abuse and the likes and things like that. But the major reason for proliferation of drug abuse is because people high up there, one way or the other, find themselves into this circle. And these big drug cartels in Nigeria cannot be touched. That's the principle, pure and simple. I mean, you saw government officials, being caught in all of this. You saw all sorts happening. That's the reason. You saw the last work NDLEA did as regards busting a syndicate out there in the corridor, and you'll be shocked the mammoth amount of drugs we have. But if you have a country where someone like Abba Kyari could have been linked to drug, a top police chief, then that's the free reign of drug in the country. So apart from all the advocacy and telling people don't do this, don't do that, it's also the willingness of the government to be able to bring down people that are high and mighty. Because you see, these drug cartels, they're quite a lot of power. Look at what Sinaloa is doing in Mexico and the likes. So the high and mighty, if you can bring them to book, it will stop. But the problem is, do we have the political will and the strength to be able to bring the high and mighty that are involved or connected with drugs to book? That's one thing we've lacked over the years. Today, I'm shocked at the way marijuana is common property. I remember back in the days, people, you can't smoke marijuana and be proud of it in public. But today, when you even see law enforcement officers smoking marijuana in public.
Music videos and all of that. Music videos, horrible.
Popularization of marijuana.
Yeah.
And politicians use these musicians, you know, for their political campaigns. So that's the problem. And that's what we're having in society here. So it's really about the big people that coordinate the supply and trafficking of drugs that have power. There are a lot of people have not been able to bring the book. That's a major problem. If you do that, you bust the cartels, you bust people. But these cartels are very strong as a result. They have political powers.
Well said, Rufai.